Hello and a very warm welcome to you. This is DOT GOV, and all we think about is the government. All we talk about is the government, not just the government. We talk about you as well. What are your responsibilities as a citizen? With the other time, we talked about civic responsibilities, civic obligations. You as a citizen, you have a role to play in the growth and development of your nation. Always remember that. I am Itohan Olomu-Agbodo. We'll go on a quick break. We'll be right back. This week on EduBox, we are taking a look at the Ruga settlement scheme. Following the stiff opposition many Nigerians have expressed about the scheme, the federal government has now suspended the scheme. The federal government had earlier released a statement explaining the reasoning for proposing the Ruga settlement. It said the aim of the scheme is to help resolve herders and farmers' crises, which have characterized many communities in Nigeria in recent times. More so, the federal government says the Ruga settlement scheme that seeks to settle migrant pastoral families simply means a rural settlement in which animal farmers, not just cattle herders, will be settled in an organized space with provision of necessary and adequate basic amenities such as schools, hospitals, road networks, vet clinics, markets, and manufacturing entities that will process and add value to meats and animal products. You get to find out more on the show. Stay with us.
Lovework Plus website is your #1 trusted companion as we make sure we never leave you without a smile. Using a world-class design for an easier user experience across the world. We make sure that you get the freshest and latest news on our news platform. And on entertainment, we get you covered. Find out what's going on in the world of sports as we are there to give you numbers. And with our social affairs shows, we keep you in the know. Enjoy the Word of God each day, as one word from God will change your life forever. We also give you an opportunity to communicate with us through prayers and through your partnership. It's a whole new experience with the Lovework Plus website, as we help you create your own atmosphere everywhere you go. Lovework Plus, taking you beyond television.
You're welcome back. If you just joined us, this is DOT GOV, and indeed it's all about you and the government. This week we are taking a look at one scheme set up by the government, the federal government of Nigeria, and that is the Ruga settlement. The Ruga settlement is all about having cattle colonies in the 36 states of Nigeria, a settlement where these Fulani herdsmen, generally would have their families, would have their cattle, and also be able to go to school and access basic amenities. That is according to the federal government. Although the scheme has just been suspended, we still want to take a look at the ramifications of having the Ruga settlement. But first of all, I want to go to the street to find out what Nigerians are saying about this Ruga settlement. Take a listen.
What we're really asking about is a very, very funny thing. And the question we should ask ourselves is, are animals better than human beings? Indirectly, that is what the government is telling us, that the animals are far better, or more or less it's even relating to us as animals. You understand? So, I think as wide as the world is, as wide as the surface of Nigeria is, there should be areas where all these animals can graze. Not a farm settlement where people are planting them. And it's going to affect us, even economically. You know, when they graze on a farm product that's supposed to be meant for the citizen, that's supposed to be meant for exportation, that will improve the economy of the country, then what are we really talking about? Then, and we are not really hearing it, even happening over there in the north. It's all about here in the southwest, southeast, south-south. So there's more to it than we imagine, and I just pray it doesn't get out of hand.
The federal government should look into social problems. How will that work in a country that is divided along tribal lines? Already there is a serious problem about, tribal sentiments. The federal government should look into that very, very critically, because it's going to cause, to me, I feel it's going to cause more tribal wars, more clashes between the Fulanis and the local farmers. And one thing about the Fulanis, you should know, they feel themselves as the overlord of Black Africa. And wherever they occupy, they want to dominate. They want to take possession of the land. That's another thing the federal government has to consider. And the local people are afraid of this development, that should the federal government implement that policy. So if anyone is not in fear that the president's agenda is to Fulanize Nigeria, I don't think they are wrong. An elder statesman in the person of Obasanjo, President Olusegun Obasanjo, raised that fear, and I can say that he wasn't wrong. So the president should look into that critically. The people are not united. He should first of all do his homework, unite the people before you bring up such policy that will make them live in one house.
There is nothing really wrong about it. I think the federal government is trying to resolve the difference between farmers and herdsmen, and at least it will prevent them from going about. They can stay in a place. Issue comes up in this context, we religionize it, we politicize it. Some of these things doesn't allow the country to move forward. So as far as I'm concerned, it's the right thing to do, and it's going to solve a lot of problems. At least this cattle, the herdsmen and farmers problem will be solved once and for all.
Quite interesting. Some Nigerians are saying that the Ruga settlement would not actually help in curbing the clashes between herdsmen and farmers, but rather that it would incite more violence between the farmers and the herdsmen. But we have an expert, a legal analyst and a social affairs analyst who will be talking about this Ruga settlements and the implications of having such settlements across the states of Nigeria. Take a listen.
The Ruga settlement in Nigeria is a recent phenomenon that is actually taken from a deeper or a phenomenon that's dragged on a bit. For about 4 years now, Nigeria has been having these issues with herdsmen, cattle grazing routes, and all of that. And there's been a lot of herdsmen-farmers clashes. And along the line, some persons have recommended that the solutions to these incessant herdsmen-farmers problems, clashes, was for there to be cattle ranches that would be established in states. But the issue now became, if cattle ranches are going to be established, where exactly would they be established? And they came up, some people came up with the idea that the cattle ranches or cattle colonies, as the concept may be, should be established around the 36 states of the Federation. But based on the historical antecedents of the Fulani herdsmen and based on the thousands of lives and millions of properties lost to this phenomenon of the herdsmen, a lot of people were not too comfortable with the idea of cattle colonies being based around the 36 states of the Federation. A lot of people were of the opinion that this thing is voluntary, and if business is voluntary, government has no business in it, except government wants to go out and set up a company that wants to do something similar. But to use the vehicle of government to funnel all of this through, a lot of people were not comfortable with it. So a couple of weeks back, the name cattle colony disappeared, and the name Ruga settlement or whatever came up, and that, I assume, is a word that has been used to replace what we used to refer to as cattle colonies a couple of years ago. So that is the historical trace of what we are calling Ruga today. The first implication is the word Ruga itself. Ruga, I believe, or I come to understand, is an Hausa word that means cow settlement. That's the first implication. So if Ruga is an Hausa word, it means that the name already, there's a problem with the name, because you want to move this name and these settlements through the 36 states of the Federation and through all the tribes. Nigeria is a multilingual country, and where you have on your own decided to pick a name from a certain tribe to give to something that you want to move through 36 states, that's the number one issue. The number two issue is the historical antecedents of the persons who traditionally have been the herdsmen. Traditionally, the herdsmen in Nigeria have been those of the Fulani extraction. They have been the herdsmen that move cattle around the nation. But with the recent farmers-herdsmen clashes, where sometimes close to whole villages have been wiped out, sometimes we have deaths running into tens and sometimes hundreds. Some persons are not comfortable with the idea of having these persons that have been responsible for so many deaths, so many destruction of lives and property, to be granted government-controlled protection agencies, similar to maybe what we have in America that we call witness protection programs. People that should ordinarily be investigated and prosecuted and treated according to the crimes that they've committed. The government is now saying that we want to establish large hectares, large expanses of land throughout the 36 states of the Federation for these same persons. And people are not comfortable with it. For goodness sake, who will be comfortable having a killer or a serial killer next door? Nobody will be comfortable with that. So that is a serious implication of this Ruga thing. It is not as if anybody has problems with cows or beef or whatever. It is just the personnel, the same persons that have been responsible for this mindless and cold slaughtering of thousands of people. You want these same persons to come and stay next door to others in a government-protected arrangement. That is something that people are not too comfortable with. So that is a very serious implication of the Ruga settlement that is being proposed or implemented. Nigeria is a country that has always had what we've called a mixed economy, with government participation at a certain level, but private sector participation at, let's say, 70% of our businesses. Now, people are saying that cattle rearing, just like textile markets or just like spare parts market, is a private venture, and the government has no business doing what it is currently doing. That the true intentions of the government may actually be to push the Fulani agenda around the 36 states of the Federation. While some of the fears may be outlandish, and while some of the fears may be a bit far-fetched, you can't deny the fact that there is some truth, or that there may be some truth in what is being alleged all around. Because look at it. The government came out one day to tell us that they want to establish these Ruga settlements according to the 36 states of the Federation. When did the government ever consult with the people of the 36 states of the Federation for the people to say that, oh, okay, we want these guys to stay in our places or to stay in our states? There was no consultation made at any point. The government has also stated that it has gazetted lands all over the 36 states of the Federation, and some state governors have come out to challenge that. That if indeed you have gazetted lands, as you've claimed, across the 6 states of the Federation, please bring out the documents. Let us see the documents that you say you have. And we know that under the Land Use Act, when government sequestrates or when government takes over land, that land must be taken for a specific purpose, which means that if the government, for example, takes over land in the overriding public interest, and that land is meant to build, let's say, a football stadium, it would be illegal for the same government to come around and say, even though on paper we've taken this land to build a football stadium, we are not converting this land to a Ruga settlement. So that in itself would be a problem. So people are saying that government, if federal government, if you say that you have these lands across the 36 states of the Federation, let us have the documents, let us have the purpose for which the lands were made and all of that. So in essence, this has made people to wonder that is this another way of pushing through a certain agenda through the back door, or in this case, it's the front door, because it is being endorsed and cultivated formally. And some time ago, a respected former leader of this country raised the allegation that there was a serious move to Fulanize or to Islamize this country. And no matter how outlandish that may seem, no matter how much you do not want to dwell in rumors and conjecture, with the recent moves of the government, one begins to wonder that could there be some truth to what the former leader said some weeks ago? Could there be some truth that there is a deliberate push or a deliberate ploy to Islamize or Fulanize this country? The question is a big question. And at this point, while waiting for further facts to emerge or to be uncovered, I would say that I am not personally comfortable with what the government is doing. To me, it seems as if it's a deliberate plan to either Fulanize, so to speak, or to Islamize sections of this country. Because in a federal system of government, why would you want to come up with a state-funded policy that aims to implant a certain tribe through the 36 states of the Federation? We understand also that the government has come out to say that, the Ruga scheme is not actually compulsory, that it is voluntary. 12 states have keyed in and made it look like the other states have not keyed in, they are losing a big deal and all of that. With the antecedents, as in with the track record, with what has been on ground, no governor among the ones that have not agreed to key in to this scheme, no governor wants to be caught napping. No governor wants to give out his land to enthrone a situation that will now be akin to what has been happening in Plateau State, Benue State, and some other states over the last couple of years. So, in essence, I think that with the uproar that this scheme has generated, with the heat and attention that it has generated across the land, I think the government should, in its wisdom, remove its hands from this scheme.
Quite interesting. That's Prince Uzeme, a legal practitioner and a social affairs analyst, talking about the Ruga settlements and the implications of having them across the 36 states of Nigeria. We'll go on a quick break now. We'll be right back. Stay with us. You're welcome back. Prince Uzeme is still standing by to conclude on the issue of this Ruga settlements, having them across the 36 states of Nigeria. And he will also be commenting on the position by the Southeast governors that they would rather have a barter system where they would send their grasses up north while they will have the cattle coming to the east. Take a listen.
And no matter the language used by the governors that do not agree with the Ruga scheme, when you read between the lines, the underlying message is that simply, we do not want it. Please take it away from us. Whatever you want to do, you can do it in your section. Do you know, let me give you a funny fact. Do you know that when it comes to landmass in this nation, the whole of the Southeast is about, give or take, it's about 25,500 square meters. While just one state, let's say Niger State, is about 76,000 square meters. What that means is that the whole of the Southeast is like 40% the landmass of just Niger State. So if the Ruga settlements is about landmass, the Southeast governors are saying that it is not that we are opposed to this Ruga plan, but what we are saying is that the Southeast is agrarian. We are an agricultural community or state. We are agricultural states, and we really do not have the kind of land that will be required for these Ruga settlements. That is what the Southeast governors, through the chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, Mr. Dave Umahi, has said. Then, coming down to the west, the Ekiti State Governor, Kayode Fayemi, has stated clearly that as long as he is governor in that state, no portion, no inch of Ekiti State land will be used for Ruga settlements. So what that means is that certain governors are not comfortable with this idea. And the governors are saying that since 80%, so to speak, or 70% of all the landmass in Nigeria is up north, and what we need for the landmass, I mean for the Ruga settlements, is actually land, please situate the Ruga settlements up north. If what you need is grass, it is a problem. It is not a new problem. We will grow grass for you and sell it to you from the south, or do a trade by barter, grass for meat, grass from the south for meat from the north. For goodness sakes, the cows don't have to grow or to flourish in those states. The cows can grow and flourish in their natural habitats, which is the northern part of Nigeria. And when it comes to this grass issue, in countries, including America, grass and movement of grass from one location to another to feed livestock is not a new thing. We know that American horses and cattle, they eat hay. And hay, we know, is dried grass that is dried somewhere, bought by some farmers and taken to their livestock or their horses, wherever they are paddocked. So what these governors are saying, and I fully support them, is that we do not need to create so much tension or raise so much heat with these Ruga settlements that have gotten so many people uneasy, and that people are beginning to second guess what the true intentions of government are. That we do not need to raise so much heat. Please locate the settlements in your portion of the country. We will grow the grass or whatever else you need in our portion, and we will either sell it to you or trade it by barter to you. That is all they are saying. And I think the federal government will be wise to respect this and run accordingly to what has been suggested by the Southeast governors. The issue here is not the cows. The issue here is not the Ruga per se. The issue is with the herdsmen. The herdsmen have unleashed terror, have unleashed a lot of destruction, both of lives and properties, on a lot of people. And people are not comfortable having those herdsmen around. So what the federal government needs to do is to come up with a solution that domesticates the herdsmen. That instead of the herdsmen to be this nomadic and roaming freely without documentation or without even knowing their locations all the time, they don't need to be so itinerant. They can be domesticated around these cattle ranches. Nigeria all the states of Nigeria support cattle ranches, but the location of the cattle ranches is what the issue is. The cattle ranches, let them be located in the north, and business, jobs, more jobs will be created by grass being grown from the south and sold to these cattle ranches in the north. And for goodness sake, I think the cows would be more comfortable with the climate in the north since they are more used to that atmosphere.
Quite interesting, but this is still U.gov, and of course we have some more tidbits up ahead. Well, that's the much we can take this week. Although the Ruga settlement has just been suspended by the federal government, we still felt it was necessary to help you understand what the concept is all about so you can make informed decisions, so you can actually allow your voice to be heard. So if you have comments for us, we would like you to log on to our website on www.loverplus.tv. You can also send comments to numbers that will be showing on your screen now. I'm Olomu-Agbodo. Bye for now.